Alright, so before I say anything else, I know I probably titled this video something like Rogueblox is overhyped or Rogueblox is mid, and I want to start this off by saying that Rogueblox as a game fundamentally is not a bad game. It's actually pretty solid in a lot of ways. I personally like a lot of aspects about the game. I like the appearance of the game, it's obvious they put a lot of effort into it. I like the map design, the map in general was built really well, even though having mana climb as the only way to explore the map as there are no other parkour options kind of sucks. I like a lot of the mechanics in the game. I like the transparency with your stats. You're basically shown everything and know exactly what you need to do to progress, so it's very straightforward to play. In general, the game is not bad, and I really want to get that across. But that doesn't change the fact that this game was overhyped to hell and back. And when I say overhyped, I mean overhyped. I think it was only yesterday that I saw a video on the game saying that the game would save Roblox somehow, and it seemed like everywhere I went, people were talking about this game. Even my own personal friends brought this game up to me multiple times, almost incessantly, honestly. And even when the game released, I saw multiple announcements in multiple different game servers, completely unrelated to Rogueblox, by the way, say that they were temporarily postponing events due to Rogueblox simply releasing, and the fact that they wanted people to go ahead and play that game. That is absurd levels of glaze. I don't think I've ever seen that level of glaze on Roblox before. I think the last time we saw something like this was with Runeslayer, which funnily enough actually bears a couple similarities with Rogueblox. And due to the sheer amount of hype that this game had behind it, the game is currently sitting at like 25,000 players, which is an honestly crazy amount considering that I didn't even find out about the game releasing from like an official announcement or something. It was just because my random friends told me about it. People were excited for this game. People were maybe overly excited for this game. And even now that the game has only been released for a couple hours, I've already had some of my friends come to me and express their disappointment with the game. However, very few of them actually straight up call the game bad. Most of them simply call it mediocre or alright. And I myself, as someone who played the game for maybe like 2 hours before hopping off, agree with these opinions almost completely. The game is, in my opinion, just alright. And that's in spite of the various boons the game has, from the weapon design, to the maps, to the NPCs, to everything. In spite of all those facts, the game is still only really mediocre, and I hope to briefly explain why. Now, to start off, the first thing that I noticed when I played this game is that it almost feels like the game has an identity crisis. The game, like most of the games we've seen in the past millennia, is a roguelite, yes, roguelite, not a roguelike, RPG with rogue lineage inspired mechanics. But that's also in addition to the Deepwoken mechanics that it includes as well. Now, typically you will see a game try to copy either Rogue Lineage or Deepwoken in some of their mechanics, but very rarely will you see a game try to do both at the same time. And a lot of those mechanics sort of conflict with each other because Rogue Lineage and Deepwoken are very, very different games. This can be seen rather well in the combat system, which one of my friends had the eloquence of describing as carryless, carry-based combat. The game functionally has combat more similar to Rogue Lineage, which is mini-stun combo-based combat, and you can see that rather well in the flow of combat. You'll land various combos, either aerial combos or ground combos, and skills will very easily chain into each other. However, the game also tries to emulate Deepwoken in a lot of its combat mechanics, such as timing your rolls in order to perfect dodge attacks, or uppercutting in order to send people into the air so you can land aerial combos. And although both of these mechanics aren't native to Deepwoken or something, it's not like Raguser invented these mechanics are implemented in the exact same way that Deepwoken does them, so you can obviously tell there's a bit of inspiration there. And because of this, at times, these mechanics can really conflict. There was numerous times when I was fighting both players and NPCs where I'd get uppercutted, put in an aerial combo, and it almost felt as if there was literally nothing I can do. Because typically in Deepwoken, in order to get out of an aerial combo, all you'd have to do is parry your opponent's next attack. But perfect blocking, which is what this game uses instead of parrying, and parrying don't exactly work the same. You can't just perfect block any attack. You can only perfect block attacks that would normally guard break. So if your opponent just doesn't hit you with an attack that would normally guard break, you can't perfect block in order to break out of that aerial combo. And even if you do block the initial attack, you're still frozen in the air, completely unable to move, which makes it extremely easy for your opponent to hit you with whatever Diddy combo they can come up with on the fly. Because really, you can kind of just spam skills in this game. From what I can tell, most of the non-magical abilities don't have a resource they rely on. So really, you can just throw every skill you have plus your critical attack out all at once, and there will be literally no punishment for doing so. Another issue that I personally have with the game that I don't know if other people will even agree with me on is the inconsistency of the game's difficulty. Specifically, if you've been watching the background footage, you'll notice that almost every time I fight a monster, I barely even have to try. I don't usually have to block, I don't usually have to dodge, nothing like that. I can usually just M1 skill spam them to death and they die. But then whenever you fight a humanoid NPC, the difficulty gets ramped up to 100. And although some people might not care, they'll go on fighting monsters, not having to even really think about it, and progressing that way. For people who are really into Rogue Lineage or really into Deepwoken, one of the two, and who probably got hyped about the game because of the similarities with Rogue Lineage or Deepwoken, this might be really disappointing. If Rogue Lineage was extremely easy and you didn't have to think about progressing half the time, I feel like the game would be significantly less popular than it is now and ever was. And with Deepwoken, lately people have been complaining that the game feels more and more like a sandbox purely due to how easy it is to basically get anything in the game. The game really doesn't make you take it serious. And although some people will have absolutely no problem with that and will just want a casual RPG they can play without really having to worry at all, for more hardcore players, this might actually be a deal breaker. There's also the general feeling of unoriginality the game has. Mana works the exact same way it does in Rogue Lineage, the only difference is how you train it. Silver is still called silver, lives function exactly the same. There's still the artifact system, you still progress your class almost identically. Alignment works fundamentally the same, although there are some differences in how you can obtain it. But the game really just feels like a knockoff Rogue Lineage with some Deepwoken mechanics. And because of that, it makes the game feel kind of cheap. It doesn't feel like its own thing almost at all. It almost feels like a fan game or a parody. And that's honestly a really sad thing to see because it's obvious to anyone that the developers put a lot of effort into this game. And to see it be held back by what inspired it is really, really sad. Rogueblox will not be the Rogue Lineage killer. Rogueblox will not, obviously, be the Deepwoken killer. I actually don't even have any idea how long this game will last or how soon it'll die off. However, the game still isn't bad, and you can still definitely have fun with a game like this, especially since it has incorporated party mechanics and probably encourages playing with friends. Although, with my run, I played almost entirely solo. I just wish it tried harder to be its own thing, instead of trying to be like Rogue Lineage and Deepwoken, one-to-one, but mixed together. Now, that's all I really have to say about this game. I don't really have much more I want to talk about. I don't think I'll make another video on this game purely on the fact that I don't actually feel that interested with playing it, considering it really is just Rogue Lineage x Deepwoken. And those are both games I try to avoid playing whenever I can. But I still definitely encourage you to check this game out on your own time and see whether you like it or not for yourself. Before I end this video off, I quickly want to apologize for the lack of videos recently. Yeah, I know my upload schedule is terrible, But that's primarily just because I haven't had much I wanted to make a video on. I was at some point gonna make a Heian video, but then I didn't do that. And a couple other games came out that I was gonna make videos on, but I just never bothered. And I really apologize about all that. I'll try to get videos out more consistently instead of once every 2 weeks. And I'd really appreciate if you liked this video and subscribed, because I am very small and trying to grow. Specifically, I'm trying to hit 1K before the end of the summer, so I'd really appreciate if you supported me in doing that. But yeah, I'll see you all next time. Peace.